Diddy will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So
those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
With rumors that the music mogul may soon be released from prison, the excitement around Diddy has reached a fever pitch. This is a surprising turn of events, and the internet is ablaze with conjecture. Let's examine the alleged legal loopholes and the explosive claims that have captured the public's attention. Insider leaks and theories about what's actually happening behind closed doors could allow Diddy, one of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry, to truly walk free after months of shocking allegations, lawsuits, and an indictment that rocked his empire to its foundation.
We're monitoring another push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
Insiders claim that Diddy's legal team has managed to undermine the FBI's case against him, or at least weaken it enough to possibly secure his release. It all comes down to what his attorneys are describing as egregious misconduct during the investigation, which included a contentious raid on his jail cell. This raid wasn't just any raid, though. It allegedly involved federal agents seizing confidential materials that were supposed to be protected under attorney-client privilege. According to reports, Diddy's attorneys are claiming that the breach was intentional and intended to undermine his defense, and they have evidence to support their claims. According to the story, high-ranking federal officials, including prosecutors from the Southern District of New York, met early on the second day of the raid. It is said that at this meeting, the prosecutors expressly instructed Diddy's legal team maintains that the search of his cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn was not about upholding prison security as the authorities have claimed, but rather about gathering evidence to support the case against him. They say that this was less about justice and more about tipping the scales in the prosecution's favor, adding gasoline to the fire. Additionally, Diddy's attorneys have accused investigators of listening in on his private conversations with his legal surveillance is illegal and unethical, and if these accusations are true, it could seriously harm the prosecution's case. The implications are that the integrity of the entire investigation may be called into question, and shocking evidence gathered through dubious means may be excluded. For Diddy, this could be the lifeline he needs most to clear his name.
Called this afternoon at the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, the judge ordering the prosecution to turn over its findings from a jail cell raid, Diddy's jail cell, just yesterday. What were the contents of those raids?
Well, apparently, according to the defense, they're legal documents. The government's saying no, on the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar.
However, the drama doesn't end there. Rumor has it that Diddy has a plan for when he's released, and it's not what anyone would anticipate. Some sources claim that if Diddy is granted bail, he may try to leave the country. This is a wild theory, but considering the circumstances, it is not completely out of the question. Online discussions have been triggered by rumors that Diddy might try to escape, with both fans and critics speculating about his possible destinations. Some claim he might retreat to an island or a nation that does not have an extradition treaty with the US. Others, however, think he would just blend into the background, using his resources and contacts to live covertly, of course. Even though they are only rumors, the notion of them has increased the fascination of an already amazing tale. Meanwhile, it seems like Diddy's legal team is doing all in their power to get him released. They have allegedly filed a motion claiming that the conditions in the Metropolitan Detention Center are so bad that they violate his rights. Known for its overcrowding and overpopulation, the prison has been referred to as hell on earth by both legal professionals and former detainees. Diddy's attorneys are portraying an image of a hazardous and cruel environment by pointing out recent instances of abuse and neglect within the jail, including instances where inmates have suffered severe injuries or worse as a result of insufficient supervision. They contend that maintaining it is not only unfair that Diddy is their pending trial, but it might also be fatal.
And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
His legal team is also putting a lot of effort into changing how the public views the guy at the center of the controversy. In their narrative, they have been highlighting his legacy as a music legend, philanthropist, and self-made businessman who has spent decades creating an empire. Diddy is a flawed human being who has been unfairly singled out, not the monster that court filings and media reports have painted him as. This is a premeditated maneuver meant to change public perception and possibly lessen the impact of the accusations against him, though not everyone is buying it. Critics contend that Diddy's legal issues stem from his own behavior and that T's attempts to shift the blame to the police are ineffective. Even among those who think he is guilty, the allegations of misbehavior by federal agents have raised concerns despite his desperate attempt to evade accountability. After all, if the government is prepared to break the law to get a conviction, what does that indicate about the system's fairness?
I came here today just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
Though all eyes are on the possibility of Diddy's release and the questions it raises about what might happen next, will he walk out of prison only to face an even tougher fight in court, or will he take matters into his own hands and disappear, leaving the legal system scrambling in his wake? Stay tuned, because this story is only getting more complicated, and if there's one thing we've learnt from what's happening, it's that this case is far from over. Despite the ongoing debate, Diddy still faces a mountain of legal challenges, including numerous lawsuits and an upcoming trial that promises to be one of the most high-profile courtroom battles in recent memory. Nothing about this case has been predicted thus far. Could this be the start of one of the biggest names in music making a spectacular comeback? Or could this be the prelude to a larger scandal? In Diddy's case, it appears to be stranger than anyone could have predicted, and as they say, the truth is stranger than fiction. Even though Diddy may be released from prison, the controversies surrounding his homes are far from over, and he is currently facing what could be the most intense legal battle of his life. The accusations against him have been horrifying, not only because of their seriousness but also because they depict a man whose glitzy public persona allegedly concealed years of disturbing conduct. But how did it all come to this head, and what is Diddy attempting to defend himself? Let's examine the lawsuits, the accusations, and Diddy's defense plan to discover how the once untouchable mogul is handling his fall. From Grace Diddy's issues started the first domino dropped in November 2023 when singer and model Cassie Ventura was arrested, brewing long before his recent incarceration. A lawsuit filed by Diddy's ex-partner of more than 10 years sent shockwaves through the business. In her devastating and vivid charges, Cassie detailed years of emotional and physical abuse as well as a poisonous relationship in which she claimed suffered constant abuse, coercion, and manipulation, but her claims regarding the so-called pride were what really shocked her.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
The lawsuit also contained shocking allegations that Diddy intentionally singled out anyone who threatened his authority. One of the most well-known claims was that, after discovering that Psy had expressed romantic interest in Cassie, he destroyed a car belonging to rapper Kid Q as a warning. Cassie claimed that Diddy planned the car's destruction because Q refused to back down, sending a strong message to anyone who dared to oppose him. Diddy denied these accusations and insisted on his innocence. Many people questioned whether there was more to the story than the public would ever know because the case was resolved the day after it was filed, but Cassie's case was only the start of a cascade of lawsuits from other women in the weeks that followed came crashing down on Diddy one by one. They revealed a pattern of troubling behavior that lasted decades. In 1991, a college student accused him of improper behavior, saying he had recorded their encounter and shared it without her knowledge. Another woman who filed an anonymous complaint claimed a similar situation, describing an orchestrated plan that left her feeling helpless. Finally, Lisa Gardner claimed she was taken advantage of as a teenager in the 1990s, describing violent and terrifying incidents. Even though Diddy's team dismissed these lawsuits as piled up, the public couldn't ignore the sheer volume of cases, of charges, and the similarity of many of the accounts.
A woman is accusing Diddy Combs of her when she was 16 years old in 2000.
By December 2023, The accusations had taken a much darker turn when a woman who only went by Jane Doe filed claims that she had been coerced into inappropriate behavior while still a minor. She described being given drugs and being left in such a state that she hardly remembered what had happened. Her account was horrific and added even more complexity to the already complex legal situation. At about the same time, additional lawsuits surfaced, including one from an adult film star who claimed she had been falsely invited to Diddy's extravagant parties and ended up in circumstances she had never consented to. These lawsuits came one after the other, and the mounting accusation list started to overshadow Diddy's legacy as a music mogul and businessman. February 2024 saw another escalation of the situation. Music producer Rodney Jones Jr., who collaborated with Diddy on his most recent record, filed his own lawsuit. Unlike the others, his claims detailed unwanted advances and attempts to coerce him into doing things he didn't want to do. Jones claimed that Diddy had attempted to develop him by pushing limits with his influence and power. Jones maintained that his experiences were genuine and that he was stepping forward to reveal the truth, despite Diddy's attorney labeling these claims pure fiction. This case demonstrated that the charges weren't limited to women, they came from people in both his personal and professional life.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
As these lawsuits grew, Diddy's defense team started to fight back hard in May 2024 when CCTV footage from a 2016 incident involving Diddy and Cassie at a hotel in Los Angeles appeared to show Diddy pushing Cassie to the ground and kicking her while she was down. The footage was grainy but unmistakable, and the public's reaction was swift and intense. Diddy responded by issuing a statement saying he was disgusted with himself and that the incident represented a low point in his life, but for many, the damage had already been done. The footage seemed to support some of the claims Cassie had made in her lawsuit, and it added fuel to why the summer of 2024, Diddy's legal issues had escalated to a tipping point, and more lawsuits were coming in, including one from Crystal McKenney, a former model and actress who claimed she had been taken advantage of in a recording studio in New York City. Her detailed and graphic allegations added yet another voice to the growing chorus of accusers. At about the same time, Dawn Richard, a former member of one of Diddy's girl groups, filed her own lawsuit, accusing Diddy of inappropriate behavior while she was a member of Danity Kane and later Diddy Dirty Money. She claimed verbal abuse, overwork, and unwelcome advances, painting a picture of an artist who felt helpless and trapped under Diddy's control.
But like I said, the entertainment industry is very, very, very messed up when it comes to the bigger you get, the more you had to do to get there. And so if you're not willing to put yourself in that position, you kind of have to put your foot down. And so I didn't.
However, the grand jury indictment in September 2024 following months of investigations was what actually laid the groundwork for Diddy's current situation. Federal prosecutors presented the music entrepreneur with a number of significant charges in their case. The indictment detailed a highly structured system in which Diddy reportedly used his riches and influence to control, intimidate, and manipulate others around him. The specifics were startling and included claims of bribery, intimidation, and even attempts to use financial offers to quiet witnesses. Despite the plethora of accusations, Diddy was arrested soon after the indictment was made and his bail was refused, forcing him to wait for his trial in prison. Diddy has insisted on his innocence from the beginning, and his attorney has called him a daring move. They claim that the lawsuits and criminal allegations are part of a coordinated effort to damage his character and profit from his fortune. He is a family guy and philanthropist who has spent decades creating an empire and giving back to his community. Diddy's legal team recently filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Courtney Burgess, one of the witnesses in his case, and his attorney Ariel Mitchell. The lawsuit alleges that the two of them made up outrageous statements regarding purported recordings involving Diddy and other well-known people. His attorneys contend that in addition to harming his image, these lies have tainted the Dre pool, making it practically impossible for him to receive a fair trial.
Diddy is now suing So according to our friends over at Us Magazine, Diddy, who remains in the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center while he awaits trial. Us Weekly writes this. It says Sean Diddy Combs has filed a defamation lawsuit against one of his accusers, their attorney, and News Nation.
The stakes are extremely high as Diddy's trial approaches. If convicted, he might spend the rest of his life behind bars. However, his legal team is fighting back with everything they have, contesting the evidence, raising doubts about the motives of his accusers, and trying to change this case has already become one of the most talked about scandals in recent memory. It's a tale of power privilege and the lengths someone will go to in order to defend their legacy, and with so many unanswered questions still hanging in the air, it remains to be seen whether Diddy can clear his name. The man was once hailed as a pioneer in the music industry. The globe will be closely observing the events of the upcoming chapter.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
As the Shoray saga, the debate is far from over, and the opinions of the viewers are more important than ever. Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Until the next time, stay tuned for more updates on this constantly changing story. Diddy's comments are still unfolding. The questions surrounding his possible release and the legal battles ahead remain as intriguing as ever. Could Diddy's legal team really dismantle the case against him, or are these just desperate attempts to avoid accountability? If he is released, will he take the dramatic step of fleeing the country, or will he continue to fight to clear his name? For now, goodbye.